My name is Reverend Ben Jameson. I am your associate minister here, and it is my privilege to share our core value with you. We have 7 core values here that guide what we do. Those core values are love, healing, oneness, abundance, spiritual growth, service, and diversity. Today we're focusing on spiritual growth. And typically we look at our spiritual growth as intentional growth through our spiritual practice. Meditation, affirmation, affirmative prayer, self-forgiveness, introspection, practices such as these. And yet we can forget that in the midst of struggle and tragedy, we have a great opportunity to grow spiritually. I myself am in the midst of one of those experiences right now. Last week, my stepfather very suddenly passed away. And my wife and I flew back to Kansas City to be with family, to celebrate his life and mourn the loss of his physical body. I helped to carry his body as a pallbearer and then gave the service that he asked me to give in his last wishes. It was a time of connection, of love, of sadness. And here I find myself back in my day-to-day life, knowing that at times grief will find me. But that's okay, because that grief is for me. It's part of my spiritual growth. You see, the love and the joy that I experienced in my stepfather's presence didn't come from him. It was within me all the time. He just pointed me to it, helped me to find it. And that grief is opening my heart and paving the way within so that I can connect to that unique experience of loving without him here to point the way. It also helps me reconnect with that one life that lives me and that is still living him. So friends, whether the spiritual growth that you are having in your life right now is from your intentional spiritual practice or has been laid at your feet through grief, the loss of a loved one, or some other challenge, know that I am in those trenches with you. And that as we bring our intention to grow through whatever it is that we need to go through, the end result is always more love and greater life. Thank you.
All right, so picture this. There's this guy in my neighborhood that I see in my morning power walks, and he is a big, burly, beefy guy from New York. Maybe he's Italian, I don't know, but I know he's from New York because he told me so, and he talks like he's from New York, like they got something stuck in their mouth. So the other day, as I'm doing my power walk, I said, "Good morning, how are you?" And he says, "I'm doing good, how you doing?" "You doing all right?" I said, I'm doing well, thank you. Anyway, you get the picture. You know guys like this, sort of all tough looking on the outside and maybe a little mushy and soft on the inside. And I know this because I see this guy walking down the street every single week, and behind him, about 6 feet, is his dog that's painfully and slowly trailing behind him. And you can tell by the way the dog moves that it's really, really old. But she follows along behind him with very stiff legs and half-blind eyes. And he's deliberately walking very slowly so that the dog can keep up. And one day I asked him, I said, "Well, how old is your dog?" And he said, "She's an old girl. She's 15. And I said, "Well, that's how old my dog is, Jack." And so we started this conversation because we all automatically had something in common. And we talked for a few minutes about the challenge of being the owner of an old dog. And we get up every morning, we pray like, "Please be breathing today. Please don't die today. It's not a good day for me." Well, my dog, Jack, is in better shape than his. Jack has sort of a quick stride in the morning. But this guy's dog can barely move. So a few weeks ago, as I'm on my morning walk, I see him again, and the dog slowly trailing behind him, except this time, this big, burly New Yorker guy is pulling a little red wagon. So I asked him, I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Well, sometimes she gets tired, so I put her in the wagon and I take her home." Aww. Talk about sweet, right? Here's this big, tough dude walking down the street pulling a little red wagon that I used to have when I was a little boy so that the old dog can have a more comfortable life. How cute is that, right? touches your heart. So my question is, why does it touch your heart? You don't know him. You never met this guy. Why does just a story about him make you feel something? Well, it's because we're all connected to each other. You know, in our teaching, you will hear us say a lot, there's only one mind, one intelligence, one universe, one power. But there's also only one heart, one love that fills the heart of every human being. And if you don't believe me, if you think that your heart is separate from all the rest and that your feelings are unique to your own and you can't be affected by anybody else, you can test this for yourself, and it's really easy to do so. Go on YouTube this week and watch the videos of babies laughing. And in a minute, it won't take very long, you'll start laughing. Or better yet, here's a better way to do it. Watch one of those videos, right, where the soldier's been deployed for a year or two. And then they go back and they surprise their son or their daughter in school, right? And so when you see the little boy or the girl running, crying to its mother or father, you will start to cry too. We are all connected by the same heart. This month we've been using as our book of the month, Radically Happy, and we're trying to find out what makes people happy. In it, the author cites the research of George Vaillant, who conducted a 75-year study at Harvard University. He followed 268 men. We still don't know what makes women happy, but he followed 268 men over the course of their lives for 75 years. You know, back then the studies were just about men. So what was the conclusion of the scientific study? Well, it's very simple. After 75 years, 268 men, the simple truth is, happiness is love. The men who had shared relationships, who had part of a community, connected to each other, they lived longer, they made considerable more money, they had better marriages, and it said they even aged gracefully regardless of their genetic makeup. So this is the power of hearts connected. I don't know if you know this, but if you put two plants in a single pot, their roots will intermingle, making them each stronger. And that same thing does with us. The same thing is with human beings. We connect with each other heart to heart. We all grow stronger together. One of the things that I love so much about this spiritual community, about CSL, is our generosity. We share our good with others. I don't know if you know this or not, but we tithe 10% of all that's given here on Sunday mornings to other nonprofit organizations that are in alignment with our vision and our mission. Through the TPL program, each year you guys get to choose the 3 local organizations that we support. And I will never forget one organization that CSL Kansas City chose to support years ago when I was the senior minister there. It was a local battered women's shelter, a safe house where abused mothers could take their children to be safe from angry or abusive men or spouses. And it was in October, and just as we do every year in October to launch the TPL program, we invited the executive director of the shelter to come and tell CSL about their services. And when she took the stage, everyone was expecting to hear the usual speech, like, "Thank you for supporting us, your help makes a difference, blah, blah, blah." But that's not what she said that day. Instead, she said, "This weekend, a young woman came to us with her little 5-year-old boy, and on the side of his face was an iron print. The mother was ironing clothes, and the little boy was being rambunctious, as little boys often are, and it angered his father, so he took the steam iron and he pressed it into the little boy's face until it burned into his skin." And she said, "My goal this weekend was to get that little boy to feel safe enough to smile." And she said, "This Sunday morning, he did." So never think that what you give to CSL doesn't matter. Your compassion for people that you don't even know makes a difference in this world and heals lives you can't touch on your own. We are a loving and diverse spiritual community, and to us, love isn't just a word. It's an action. It's a living being. It's a universe. And the way that we express it is through our compassion for others and by giving our love to others. Now, all of the world's religions unquestionably agree on one thing, that compassion is a sign of true spiritual awakening, a truly enlightened being. Compassion is the way an awakened person demonstrates their understanding of divine love. Love. You know, a lot of people talk about love. They say, lots of people that are religious say that God is love. But the truth is shown in their actions, not in their words. Do you extend yourself to others, even though it might be uncomfortable for you to do so? Do you extend yourself to others whom you disagree with, even though it's very uncomfortable to do so? Do you forgive others, even when you have a lot of reasons not to? You see, it's not pillow talk that makes you a good lover. In fact, it's not talk at all. It's action. I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. That's what most people will say if you ask them what they really want. But they have no idea, absolutely no idea what it takes to get them to be happy. A lot of people think that money will make them happy. I hear people say this all the time. If I could win the lottery, I keep playing, and when I win the lottery, I'm going to make a big difference. I'm going to be so happy. But I know some very wealthy people financially that are pretty miserable. They think that finding a husband or a wife, that's going to be it. That's going to make me happy. But I don't know about you, but I know some unhappily married people that really shouldn't be married anymore. They think if I can just get people to change, that's going to do it. If I could get those Republicans to change, if I could get those Democrats to change, if I could get the Christians to change, if I could get my neighbor to change, then I would be happy. Well, we all know that's not going to happen, right? That is not going to happen. I know you've heard this before, and it might even be cliche to say, but my friends, happiness is now and has always been an inside job. You got to get up every single day and make the decision to be happy. Make the decision to be happy. And that doesn't mean pretend that everything is great in your life. It doesn't mean that although you're seething with horrible anger, you put on your happy face, and I'm going to go out into the world, and I'm just going to be happy and pretend that everything's great. In our teaching, we don't do denial. We only do truth. So when you say, I choose joy, that doesn't mean that you're in denial of all the things that are wrong in the world. It means that you are choosing to give your time, your heart, and your attention to those things that you can celebrate and love. It means that you have made a conscious choice, a deliberate choice to not allow yourself to be pulled down into the drama and the trauma and the misery in this world. Look, I get it. I see the headlines. I read the same stories you do. There's racial injustice and political gridlock and prejudice against gays and blacks and Jews and Asians. And to put the cherry on top of it, this past year we've been dealing with this damn pandemic. There are lots of reasons to be unhappy. You don't have to look very far to find those. You can easily succumb to the misery in this world. And the problem is, most people do. Most people do. They're victims of the latest headlines, fascinated, and intoxicated by the most recent misery in the world, and they're out there trying to draw you in like spiritual vampires. They want to suck the blood of your life right out of you, right? Trying to infect you. So they call you up, or they'll text you, or they'll instant message you on Facebook, or they'll Facebook you, or they'll Instagram you. It's like, please stop this. They'll use every single platform available so that they can be the very first to tell you the bad news. Oh my God, did you hear? They've closed the borders again. Oh my God, did you hear? They're saying this thing could go on for another year. Can you believe it? Now, they're not doing any of this consciously. They are unconscious victims of the latest global catastrophe. They think it's the most interesting thing that they have to talk about. They think it's the most interesting thing they have to tell you, and that's why they're so anxious to share the news. Because they ain't got nothing going on up here that's good. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't be the person who has nothing to talk about except for what's going wrong in this world. Make a different choice. Look in a new direction. Stop it. Stop looking at and talking about and thinking about all the negativity in this world. You know, there's a lot of good going on in the world. I don't know whether you noticed or not, but there's an awful lot of good things happening in this world. We have people replanting forests. We have engineers flying helicopters on Mars. As we speak, we have children raising money to save the oceans. If you look for it, you'll see good all around you. And lots of reasons to be happy. But my friends, you have to look for it because it will not make the news. In the news, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's because most people are more interested and intoxicating by that which is negative. They're not looking for the upbeat, uplifting stories. They're stuck in the misery. Don't you be one of these people. Find a way to buoy your spirit every day. And you know what? That might mean you have to limit your consumption of toxic, divisive media. That may mean you have to shift a few conversations with friends, co-workers, and relatives. It's going to take some conscious effort on your part. And at first, when you start to do this, it's going to seem really hard and really difficult because you're going against the status quo. But if you keep it up, in time you will notice that before long, you will see good before you see bad. You will wake up with joy in your heart for the first time in a long time instead of dread. Oh my God, what horrible thing's going to happen today. You will become as a child again. Excited to start your new day, excited to see what things you might learn that are new, excited to see what new people you might meet again. We must become as little children. Being old and bitter, and I don't mean chronologically, I mean in mind and heart. Being old and bitter is so done. Oh God, it's so common. It's so done, it's so common. Don't be the negative Nelly. The one who wants to share the bad news all the time is so funereal. Oh my God, can't we be more original than that? Can't we be more creative? Be the person who is anxious to share the good news. Be the one who can't wait to tell you the good story. Now that's original. I haven't seen my neighbor walking down the street very much lately. The one with the old dog. And I was getting kind of worried because I guess, that means the dog died, right? And I'm imagining this big guy, he's going to lose it when that little dog dies. He's just going to cry like a baby. And then on my walk on Friday, as I turned the corner, there he was. And he's pulling the little red wagon behind him with that old dog back there a few feet. And when I passed by, I looked in the wagon just to see what was in it because I saw something hanging out of it. And you know what he'd done? He put a little blanket in the wagon. So I guess for her, it made the ride back a little smoother and a little more comfortable. You know, that's love, my friends. That's love. You don't have to look very far in this world for kindness and compassion. It's all around you. You really just have to look for it. And so ends the lesson. Thank you, Reverend Ben, for sharing your heart today. Really, it's very kind. We come together as a spiritual community in one mind and one heart every single week, and we connect those minds and those hearts in our spiritual practice. This is our meditation time, so take some time to close your eyes and go within.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
You share the challenge that we all share together as spiritual beings having a human experience. Our challenge is to be in this world knowing that we are not of it. Our challenge is to not to be infected by its negativity, but to affect it with our truth and our love. And it's easy to get lost in this world of human experience and find yourself infected by its negativity. So we come here to remind ourselves of why we're here and who we are. We are the love of God making its entrance into this world. That's who we are, and why we are here is to share that love with each other, to affect and uplift this global consciousness and leave the world better than we found it. We close our eyes to all effect, to the way things appear when we do this spiritual practice, because we do not want to be tricked or fooled by those appearances. Let's stop the world's negativity. Let's stop thinking about all the things that are wrong or could go wrong. Let's make a conscious choice to set aside even our own challenges and our own problems in this next minute. And let's be still and go within and connect our hearts to a love that empowers a universe. Let's be still. Let's make a conscious choice that in every action and word we take or give this week, that it come from joy. Let's be the people that are lifting up others instead of putting them down. Let's be the person that brings optimism and positivity to the conversation. Let's make a choice to bring joy to a planet that is so desperate for it. Let's be the joy bringers and the lovers. Let's fulfill our soul's assignment to bring all that is good to life. And so it is.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there, Spirit meets me there.
We close our service as we always do with this thing called a spiritual mind treatment. It's on a card called an affirmation card. And I know your card is like mine this week. And will you say it with me, please? My heart is open, freely flowing, divine love to all. Let's know this together. We come from love. That is the purpose and the reason for life existing in the universe. For God so loved that it created. And it created billions and billions of individual expressions of its own love and its own heart, and it infused each one of them with joy and love and good and power. We are its creation. We've come to life so that we could share the love that we have, because nobody loves like we do. Nobody feels exactly the way we feel. No one has the perspective that we have. So we have to share it with everyone, and in so doing, we all are lifted up and made stronger. Let's make a conscious choice to be good lovers this week. Let's make a conscious choice to bring joy to a world that is so desperate for joy and love. Let's be the lifters. And let's allow all the good that we give out to others to return right back to our own lives and bless our hearts and our minds with truth and wisdom. This truth is established in mind. It is done in consciousness. We feel it in our souls and in our hearts. And we let it be so. And so it is. We'll see you again next week, same time, CSL on Facebook live stream. 10:30 Eastern. You guys have an amazing week.
Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.